Hello captains, this is Kent again and welcome to the flight show. So, new review, and that is of the newly released, as of today, is Orbx Australia version 2 for Flight Simulator, Prepared, and I believe it's also for X-Plane. So, looking directly from the site, they say that Australia version 2 is a land class style region that brings together everything on a massive scale. Almost 700 airports have been upgraded or created from scratch, giving you the perfect opportunity for crisscrossing the country in true VFR style. Well, we're about to put that claim to the test. We're going to do a little bit of flying around, kind of like in the essence of me doing a review of Chicago X by Dwicky. Someone actually sent me the pronunciation and I totally forgot what it was, but that's beside the point. So we're gonna just take a look at a couple of things, a couple of places to sightsee around Australia, because remember now, Australia is a continent. It's not just a country. So it's a lot of area to cover, so we're just gonna pick some points of interest to see if they stand out. Now, this is coming from a guy that doesn't know about Australia, so let's just keep that in mind. But I do have my trusty map to show me where I need to be flying, so I guess we will go ahead and get this party started. We're going to be taking off here from Brisbane International Airport, so we're going to head in a southerly west direction from taking off here. Now, I should point out, I already have the Brisbane airport scenery from Orbx. So this airport, I can't necessarily tell how detailed the countryside is because I don't quite remember what part of this is the Brisbane airport and then what part of this is the new Australia version 2 scenery. But we're just going to go fly over the airport because, of course, it blends in very nicely. Now, what I do find interesting is that there are 3 companies that I feel really do a good job of regions as well as airports. And Orbx, Zwicky, and Fly Tampa. That's not to leave out. Now, that's not to leave out Aerosoft. But I find that Aerosoft is more focused on airports in opposed to just the outlining scenery as well. But they do work well in having their scenery blend in with Orbx. So I got to give props. But that being said, we're gonna see if we can put this to the test. Now, the bridge that we're about to pass, if I'm correct, is East Street North Shore. And now how much this is like the real bridge, I don't know. But it is a nicely detailed bridge. And as we go to North Shore, I'm going to end up braking west so that we can get down to the Brisbane downtown area. But what I think I'll actually do is I'll follow the river. We'll follow the river, and then it should take us to everything we need to see. Because we should pass New Farm, and then downtown, we'd get to downtown Brisbane, then you'd be South Brisbane. And we should also see the stadium, but we'll get to that in a moment. So the traffic actually comes over the bridge beautifully. Definitely makes you feel like you're in a living place. The water seems like no waves or anything like that. Not that I'm saying that's a bad thing. Some places I guess do it and some don't. But I do see the reflections off the water, so that's pretty cool. Now we're cruising through here at about 100 miles an hour. So we should get there pretty fast. Now, another regional area that Orbx is known for was the release of Orlando. And I did a review on that. Feel free to check it out on my page. It was actually a really good scenery, although I did it in a Gazelle and not this helicopter, and I seem to handle this helicopter so much better. Okay, so East Street North Shore should be right over here. And let's see if I can... So this, I believe, is East Street North Shore. All of this area. And then we're going to take this turn. So that would suggest... let's see, if I sit over here, Ascot should be this region. Either that or this over here. Alright, now... we're making the turn. And I'm not sure what this area is here, but there's some bridges. So this would be, I guess, what? Albion? Over here, where the bridges are? Would that be Albion area? Right about there? Could be wrong. More than likely I am. Alright, so now that we're making this turn, let's see. Gotta make sure I know where I am. There should be... there's the stadium. So let's see if we can fly over that way. If we're near the stadium... And by the way, I apologize for the sound going out, but I have to scroll my map, which will cause a little bit of interference with the simulator. Okay, so... Alright, there's the stadium. I'm looking the name of the stadium up because completely hosed here. Alright, here we go. There we go. We are at the Gubba, or Gaba, sorry. Bring that sound back. That is the GABA right there, and I am going to assume that that is Australian rules football. And the patch right there in the center is what I would see in Google Maps. So we're looking good. So... nice. Alright, so we do have the Gubba Stadium right there. So if I turn going north back to the Brisbane River, we should be able to see Kangaroo Point. I believe Kangaroo Point would be around about there, right? And there's our bridge crossing right here. And this should be River Stage. Or at least I think so. River Stage should be right about here. So far, so good. So now, all of my Aussie friends out there, you will be the authority on what I'm looking at. So feel free to make a comment, maybe even tell me where I should be flying. But okay, that's enough of Brisbane. Let's see what else we can come up with. Bring you right back. Okay, so now we are back in Sydney. So Sydney International Airport. Again, I believe I have this airport. I forgot who made this. Might be Fly Tampa, if I'm correct. So I have this airport, and I'm going to fly to something recognizable because over here we should have container ships. Or container entry. So we're going to fly over here and see what we got. Looks like it's photorealistic in this area. That's fine. So let's see if we can find some points of interest in Sydney. A lot of photorealism here, but I think what we're going to do is take it towards the downtown area. There we go. And let's see what's on the horizon here. Alright. Sorry about that. So I think I'm heading generally in the direction of the East Village Shopping Center and the downtown area. So let's see what it is that we can see. So the Royal Rancourse Racecourse should be over here somewhere, assuming I am heading in the proper direction. We'll see. I'm going to pull back on the throttle because we are hightailing it over here. There is a lot of land class scenery for here for you to enjoy. So if you are from this region, you're going to have a ball. You're going to have a ball. That I have no doubt. Ooh, we got a stadium over here. What stadium is this? Is this the Fox Studio Australia? In fact, I believe it is. So we have the Sydney Cricket and Sport Ground Trust over here. And right next to it, what is that? The Allen Stadium? Yeah, right there. Looking good, I might add. Yeah, I think I got that right. And this would be Moore Park over here. So nice. Oh my gosh. And there's the Opera Center right there. And there's downtown Sydney. Excellent. Excellent. Just move this over. Just moving the map. Yeah, so there is the Sydney Opera House. We'll fly by that in just a second. And over here, in this area, would be Miss McGuire's chair. Not that I have any idea what that is, but now I'm curious. Yes, the little boats. Little boat dock right there. Excellent. Oh, and the bridge. The bridge is absolutely to die for. And there's downtown Sydney. Loving it. Now I want to like take a first class air. Oh my gosh, did you see the birds? The birds right there? Birds just flew in that area. Wow, nice. Nice touch. Trying to get a look at the bridge over here. What do they call that? The Cowal Expressway? Oh, and there's the opera, the Sydney Opera House. Absolutely beautiful. Very nice touch. Very nice touch indeed. Now, there's a lot of land class, there's a lot of autogen scenery here, and it's mixed in with the photorealism. I don't see any cars going over the bridge though, that would have been nice. But that's cool because that is a very nicely detailed rendering of a bridge. And I don't know, that's Mission Point, what, right there? Yeah. And the name... the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Duh, should have known that. Okay, so as you can tell, look at the scenery. I mean, this is a lot of land class. This is a lot of autogen scenery. It is a very full and in-depth city with just tons of autogen. It really does seem like it's a crowded urban area. Definitely not blowing you off. And over here, where we have is some tankers that are moored. That's excellent. So, Sydney is looking great. Well, the Opera House. I guess I'm tripping out because as long as I've been flying Flight Simulator, I've never flown by the Opera House. I always think, hey, that's something I want to do. Then I get distracted and I never do it. Okay, totally cool. So let's find... Uh-oh, wait a minute. in the bay here we have some of the harbor boats, privately owned boats, that is. Very, very nice. I don't know this tower, but just from the detail that's put in it, it's going to make me suggest that this tower is like a significant point. Not that I know it. Let me see if I can get into a hover here. Okay. So I'm not familiar with it, but whoop, get it together, people. Okay, so now that we've checked out Sydney, of which we would have expected. Now I didn't do the Gold Coast only because Orbx has their own like scenery for Gold Coast, so I don't think it'd be a fair judgment to look at the detail of the Gold Coast when they have an area that you would add to this to make it seem that much more complex. So I didn't worry about that. But let's come back after we check out another spot in Australia. Okay, do you know where I am? I am in Townsville. And the reason I came out to Townsville was to see, well, okay, let's take, a place off the beaten path and just see, well, how detailed is the scenery in places that are not more commonly known to us in the international world as we look at Australia, but maybe Australians would be, intimately more abreast of. So this is Townsville International, and as you can see, it's not like, Orbx airport level, like if you bought the airport, or if it were like Fly Tampa level, but it is definitely above your generic airport, and it seems to be well populated if you look around with things that are just rather than just generic autogen scenery. But one of the reasons that I wanted to come out here to Townsville was to see if we could get out at the Great Barrier Reef, which I think should be off the coast. We might have to fly a little south, but I wanted to give you a look to see what the off the beaten path places in Australia look like. And this, considering, now, for all I know, this is the swingin'est place in town in Australia, and I just don't know about it. But, all things being equal, oh, and those look like hangars. Like this is part Air Force Base. Huh, interesting. Anybody want to leave a comment on what they know about this place? Please feel free to. But okay, let's just fly off the coast a bit and see what they have to offer out here. Now, to be honest, I might have to fly for a while before I see anything that's like, really interesting. I don't know. But we're going to fly south along the coast and see what we get. Maybe to Arlisle Beach and see, what there is to see. The autogen looks good. Coastal waters look good, but I don't see any waves crashing on the beach. I would have expected to see a little of that. But I mean, you definitely look like you're flying through a very populated area, which is really, really cool. Now, if I just am flying out of Townsville, I should be approaching, I guess, Ayr or Air. I'm not sure how I would pronounce that. But maybe that's what it is off in the distance. Not too sure. Not going to use up too much time, but I did want you to just get a look at what the Australian continent has to offer. Now, if you consider that you have version 2 of Australia, and you have 2 land class full islands with New Zealand, North Island and South Island, if you want to be in kind of like this region of the globe and flying from airport to airport, or maybe doing a pilot's life and getting hired by Qantas Airlines, it is not as though you're going to be flying places that don't have things to see. This is beautiful. Now this makes me think that on a pilot's life, after I leave Lufthansa, maybe I should do Qantas for a little while. Fly around Australia, or Qantas Link, which is the regional airport, the regional courier, and then switch up, and then go to Qantas, maybe flying to New Zealand here and there. We're going to fly over this little region right over here, and then we're going to bounce to South Australia, and then we'll probably round it off. So we have like the marshlands rendered here, or at least that's what looks like marsh. I could be wrong. So what do we have there? I know that this shouldn't be, I don't think it's Bowen. This, in fact, actually might be Ayr, and Horn Hill in this area right here, or at least I think it is. I cannot say I know this for a fact, but there is such a wealth of things to see. Okay, so I'm going to bring you back in just a second. Okay, so now I'm kind of in the interior of Australia. Right now we are flying towards Marla, Australia, which is in South Australia, or the South Australia province, I believe you call it, but don't please correct me if I'm wrong. But I wanted to choose an area that was in the interior because it has a dramatically different feel and topography than, say, if you were on the coastline. So as you can see, the kind of red clay look everywhere, and yeah, a feeling of nothing out here other than Marla. Or am I saying it wrong? Marla. Tell me how I should be saying it. But nevertheless, I'm assuming that this is the town of Marla, and you get a really good feel for the topography of this region, which is flat, barren, almost desert-like, but beautiful in its own way. When I was working on my doctorate, I was doing some comparative studies of different school systems, and I thought it was really interesting that Australia's teacher retention is, difficult like it is in the US, but for slightly different reasons. Okay, let me apologize for the break. Again, if you've seen some of my other videos, if you start recording too much, that's going to tell you to stop, save that, and then start recording more, and that hit right when I was talking. So I was just going to finish my thought that I was saying about Australian teachers that go out in the, way out in the interior. Sometimes they quit teaching within 4 to 5 years because they're placed in places where they don't have any family or friends or connection, and they get a little, worn out, and they just, decide to go do something else. With our school systems, it's not necessarily like that in terms of rural interior, but again, being placed into a school system maybe that they don't really have a strong connection to, which makes, retention of teachers kind of challenging. But, just a little thing little useless information that I've learned. But I digress. Okay, so now that we are done out here in the interior, I think we'll finish up in one more region. So here we are in Carnarvon. If I'm saying this right, Carnarvon. I am so sorry if I'm messing this up. This is Carnarvon, Australia, in Western Australia. And I came out here to kind of give a little bit of a view of the lesser known part of Australia. When I say lesser known, I don't mean to Australians. I kind of mean as an American, because as Americans we think about Sydney, we think of Brisbane, we think of more some places that are in the southern and eastern part of Australia, but not necessarily places like Carnarvon. So I wanted to kind of see what was the rendering that Orbx gave here. For those simmers out there that might be from this region, I think you might be like, hey, finally, someone's giving us some street cred here. Hopefully, it meets your standard. Now, as for the Australians out there who might be viewing this, you're going to be much more familiar with this region, of course, than I. But what I can tell from observation, the urban area of Carnarvon, they've given quite a bit of attention to detail. The airport is not necessarily to the detail of like the payware airports, but it actually does have a lot of detail that you would not see if you were just looking at the Prepar3Ds or Flight Simulator 10s, just simple generic airports. So these airports have actually been touched up a bit. And if you have your presets, you can also add weather wear on the runways to soup it up a bit. I haven't done that as of yet because I really have gotten this hot off the presses so I could get it out to you. Because I wanted you to be able to see, hey, is this something that I'd want to purchase? So it's clear they, really put a lot of heart and soul into this, be it photorealistic scenery or, detailing actual rendered buildings, or just the land class and the topography of Australia. The one thing that I really do appreciate is that you can see that, depending on where you are, the vegetation is different. In some places you're going to have green vegetation, even like this, area right here. But then you'll have the more desert, dry red sand or red clay, and they really let you see the differences. So, as for those of you around the world, as you know, Australia, as far as I know, is the only continent nation, meaning that's it. It's a continent, it's a nation. And so that's a lot of geographic area for a country. And so I'm curious to, explore more and see what attention to detail Orbx has had. Now, I'm going to bring this helicopter in and land it at their Carnarvon. Oh, wow. I just realized they have a space and technology museum in Carnarvon. Let me see. It's a little out it's a little out to the east, so you're not going to necessarily see that detail if they actually modeled it from the airport, but it's not too far away, but it's a little closer to the river and over to my right, and I wasn't paying attention to that at the time, so I wasn't able to check and see if it was there. But nevertheless, I'm going to bring it in for a landing here. I'm actually getting comfortable with this helicopter because I got it pretty much where I wanted it to be. It's a little the rotors are a little close to the helicopter that I'm parking next to, but other than that, it was a pretty good landing. But anyway, I really hope that this review has given you an opportunity to see what this particular program has to offer. If you are into VFR flying, you're going to want this, because there are things to look for, landmarks, and just the different topography and color of the different regions in Australia, from the interior to the towards the coastal regions. It seems that they've put a lot of effort into this, and I've only touched on the surface of all of the things that they've put into this this particular region. So I hope you try it out, and it's worthwhile. And here we go. Yes, set it down nicely, a little close to the rotors, but considering the other landings I've had in helicopters, I am perfectly fine with this one. I'll take that any day of the week. Well, nevertheless, I really appreciate everyone tuning in to check out Orbx Australia version 2. If you're into VFR, I think you should check it out. And by the way, if you had the original Australia, which is Oceania, which what I think they call it in the Central program, they give you a discount if you already own it. So you can pick it up for 32 something American dollars. I didn't see what it was for Australian dollars. But again, if you already own it, you can get it at a discount. I highly recommend it. From what I have played with, I definitely think you're getting a lot of region for what you're paying for. Well, anyway, please like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the virtual skies.